Yeah, I mean, from an advertiser perspective, it's just been a horrible run being an advertiser, a customer of Meta, not a consumer, but a customer for the last 2 years. It's just been horrific. I think it's two narratives. It's one, it's their lack of ability to like attribute sales that come from Facebook and to use the data they used to target appropriately, and then it's also Zuck spending on.
Nick's reviewing the Discord right now.
Yep.
We're on a detax though, Nick. You have a timer set for?
Oh.
Hold on. Mindlessly scrolling the Discord?
I think I was.
No.
No, I wasn't mindlessly doing it.
At least 3 minutes just went by.
This is blocked off in my calendar as Alfalfa time. This is Alfalfa.
Well, if you're doing that, at least give us the TLDR of the day. What's going on in the Discord?
Let's see here.
Any memes?
A lot of detox. I'm in the life channel. People
Love
are talking
the life
about shrooms.
Well, Calcium Bagel told us our episode wasn't showing up. Thank you, Calcium. Jesus.
Is everything okay, guys?
Fix that. Thank you.
It wasn't.
I think we should ask people to leave a review.
Please ask, dude.
Could you guys leave a review, please?
Where? Apple?
All the places.
All the
Apple,
places.
Spotify.
Rate, review, subscribe.
Yeah, rate, review, subscribe,
I like
send
that.
flowers.
Yeah. Would you actually accept flowers?
Of course I would. I love flowers.
Also, we noticed a smidge of an uptick on the YouTube channel. So
yeah.
if you're not subscribed, go check it out. There's a bunch of shorts from the episodes there. And then, of course, the full episodes.
Yeah, we gave up the whole 2 YouTube channels thing, right? We have one
Out the door.
one YouTube channel, not a separate one for clips and shorts. So just subscribe to the main Alfalfa podcast channel.
Is this our first sober pod?
Yes.
Can you tell?
We're all so gentle. And
Yeah.
everything's just like, please.
It's that, and I've been sitting here for an hour and a half, waiting for our mom
we go.
to get the lights set up.
Okay.
Now I can't play pickleball.
I might as well be a slave.
Cobalt
All
mines.
caps, my name, all caps in the group thread. I was I literally was like sweating bullets as I get that text. Yeah, this is our first ever pod where we're all sober. So, God, I hope it doesn't suck. All right, well, we're talking money. Money
And no
does, you know-
caffeine either, by the way.
I know, that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
I know. I was actually drinking that Coca-Cola, and then I felt bad, and I just dumped it in the sink.
Yeah.
What a good boy.
Good.
I know. I was like, I felt like a little twinge in my brain, like ooh. I felt like a ooh in the back of my head.
In case you guys are wondering, this is herbal tea.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
I
Did
need
you?
something.
We need to check that at the door. He's just drinking straight mezcal. All right, you guys want to jump into some money talk?
Yeah.
All right, Nick, you were doing some stuff.
Yeah,
What'd you do?
so I have had some puts on the S&P 500 SPY, and I decided to do a little more concentrated play on that by buying some puts on Apple. And the main reason is, one, it was a concentrated way to kind of play the same thing that I've been doing, which is betting downward volatility in the S&P 500. But it's also kind of a play on a recession in China and Europe. So Apple gets about 17% of the revenue from China and about another 25% from Europe. And they're heavily weighted on China. And a lot of people talk about the supply side issue with Apple and China, but they don't really talk about the demand side. So I still think that China is probably in a recession more than we fully realize it. And so this is a way to play that. I think also UK, Germany will also be hit hardest in like a slowdown. And so it's kind of a play on that. So is Microsoft, by the way. Microsoft is number 2 in the S&P 500. And they get about half of their revenue outside the US. So that's also a play. I was also looking at just some of the big growth stocks and where they are above their pre-COVID peaks and kind of where their PE ratios are at. So some numbers. Google's about 20% above its pre-COVID highs. It's at an 18x multiple. Amazon is minus 15%. So it's actually below its COVID highs, still at a 78x multiple. Meta's 38% below its pre-COVID highs and at a 12x multiple. And then you look at Apple, and Apple's 62% above its pre-COVID peak. It's trading at a 20x multiple. So Microsoft's 41% above its pre-COVID peak, trading at a 26x multiple. So I don't know. Those two look like a turnover. They kind of have to go hand in hand. Those two probably have to go down for the S&P to move significantly down.
Apple's more physical stuff than Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
Kind of hate their business
I don't know.
more right now.
This is more Eric's wheelhouse, but
Well, my
that's
thought is like you're talking about consumer demand in China. I think if they're in a recession, it's very easy to like delay your hardware purchases. So I think that one makes sense to me. Microsoft, I think a lot of that business is enterprise. It's harder to analyze. I would like to see like all your analysis on the, like you said, percent above or below pre-COVID. I'd like to see what the crypto coins are doing on that same.
Well, it's funny.
Scale.
I guess the reason it got brought up because we were talking about ADA and how ADA is still, Cardano is still above its pre-COVID prices and
By a lot.
Yeah, by a lot. And we were like, oh, that's interesting. And it caused us to look closer at it. And that's why some of us are still shorting it. And so when I happened to compare these, I was like, oh, Apple's trading like almost like a
shit coin.
Yeah, shit coin. It's obviously not. But
what about the majors? What about like Bitcoin, ETH? Are those, how are those doing relative?
Still above, way above.
Way above?
Yeah, way above. ETH is way above. What was ETH's COVID low? Like $80?
well, that was the COVID low.
What about the pre-COVID high?
Pre-COVID high? You mean like 2017? 2018?
No, I guess like pre-COVID
Basically,
level.
like you're talking about
Probably like
February
300
2020.
or so,
Yeah,
right?
February, right before COVID hit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, actually, I'm looking at the wrong time. Let's see. February 2020, we're sitting at like $200.
Wow.
170,
Wow.
$200.
Yeah, so you're doing great
Wow.
so
Yeah.
far.
So far.
I actually wanted to ask you about Meta. Like I was thinking,
yeah.
Meta's maybe an interesting trade. Maybe it's like a long versus the Nasdaq or something.
Yeah, I mean, from an advertiser perspective, it's just been a horrible run being an advertiser, a customer of Meta, not a consumer, but a customer for the last 2 years. It's just been horrific. Like most businesses would say that.
How? I mean, is that reflected? Do you think that that's a big part of what's going on?
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it's two
really
it's two
is
narratives.
horrific.
It's one, it's their lack of ability to like attribute sales that come from Facebook and to use the data they used to target appropriately. And then it's also Zuck spending on
Zuck's
Metaverse.
spending a lot of money on the Metaverse.
But I think it's more the first
Market hates
thing.
it.
And what was it? It's Apple changing their policies with Facebook. So Facebook can no longer capture the same data that they used to.
Yeah, it has to do with like, third-party cookies and what kind of data that an application like Facebook can collect. Because I don't think people understood how much data they could collect, and then they could use that to determine what you will purchase. And I mean, I look at like the ROI from pre-2020. It was great. And just in the last couple of years, it's tough. It's garbage, and it's one that they're less effective, and then two, they can't even attribute, meaning you can't even tell where a sale came from. A sale came in.
Which, if you're doing any type of like performance marketing, means you're just literally not doing performance marketing.
Right. If
anymore.
the ROI shows lower, you're going to spend lower. And
So
so
you
that
don't have the ability to like push on the gas pedal like you used to.
you
at
can't
all.
do it confidently, so you're just not going to do it because you don't want to light money on fire.
I mean, that being said, they're like a 12x earnings. Like even if earnings are maybe
I mean, earnings are still growing. I mean, revenue's growing, and if you kind of lump out the R&D spend, I don't know if you should when analyzing the security.
I don't think you should, no. But like I've heard a lot of people talking about how the new narrative is going to be like tech as like a value stock in the relative near future. Maybe Facebook fits that mold. It's kind of been it's been beaten to hell. I mean, it's up like 50% from the lows, but
Right.
it got beat to hell. I think an interesting thing about Facebook stock is that you can kind of play it as like I feel like you can play it as almost like a free roll on TikTok getting banned, right? Like I think there's a pretty high probability TikTok ends up getting banned. Like I feel like the banning it on the government phones is like just foot in the door, but it seems kind of inevitable that they're gonna just
You're calling it
wipe the whole
inevitable?
thing.
I would say it's less than 50% chance.
Over what time horizon?
I wouldn't buy
Forever.
the stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I mean,
buy this.
I'll place a wager in the next 2 years if you want.
I wouldn't buy Facebook solely on that. I'd buy it on just because the valuation is really low and the company's actually still growing.
It's a free roll though.
Yeah.
For what I think is like a relatively high probability event. And like if TikTok goes down, then who's going to replace it like Facebook is with like shorts and everything, or on Instagram, or Reels rather, or they'll roll something out that'll take it. The other thing is like I feel like if China invades Taiwan, then
we're all fucked.
Also
everything.
TikTok is toast probably in that scenario.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot more shit's fucked in that scenario.
Yeah, but like I don't know, how much does that hurt Facebook's business model?
Advertisers, man. I mean, their customer base are all over the world. Like I don't know if the advertising engines will be.
But if you play
running
it
at
as
all
like
cylinders,
what if you play it as like a pair trade? You know?
Okay, that's interesting.
Like I don't know. I'm literally just saying nonsense right now.
Yeah.
That's just coming off the top of my head. So you know.
Do you have anything for this week?
I found a cool little site. I actually hope now that I look at it, it's not just a giant scam, because it looks like it reminds me of like an antivirus site when I look at it.
Oh God!
It's
You're doing the due diligence now on the site as you're about to tell us.
I mean, I've been using it. You don't connect a wallet to it or anything. You just browse it.
All right.
Yeah, it just silently installs things on your
It's
computer.
called token.unlocks.app. Like
I'm
I'm always
definitely
like
not going to
searching
Yeah,
for the
that's too long. It's way too long.
Well, I'm always searching for like the vesting schedules
Right.
of all these tokens and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
And it's like all in here. It's like
Wow.
kind of nice.
You got any juicy ones that are about to unlock bigly soon?
I was just looking at like Lido, because we're talking about that possibly now. I don't know. But yeah, there's like 350,000 or so just a day in sell pressure on Lido right now, just from daily unlocks. And then there's like a new bulk unlock that starts in August, apparently.
They have a very large spread between the market cap and the fully diluted market cap, right? Like there's a low circulation of total coins.
Because so much is left to be unlocked.
That's what
I
I
don't-
understood.
Think
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
Like on CoinMarketCap, it's like an 80% difference. But CoinMarketCap is like has Rocket Pool at it's fully diluted, but that's not true because Rocket Pool is inflating at like 5% a year. But yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about the
Yeah.
let's talk
you
about
will.
it. I mean, I got very excited for this episode because I started like looking into stuff and it got me like kind of pumped on crypto again for the first time in
Same, dude.
Welcome
a
back,
long time.
brother.
Like, it's just
Same.
been so much depression. But I was like looking through this and I see like a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe we should take a step back for people who don't know what we're talking about, right? And when we say like liquid staking derivatives, they're these protocols that basically handle the staking of your Ethereum for you. Like, and it's like as easy as literally just swapping your ETH for like a tokenized version of their staked ETH. The most popular one by far, Lido at what are they? Lido.fi, and then Rocket Pool is number 2.
They're 3 actually.
right?
Coinbase
Three.
is number 2.
Oh no, but Coinbase. Yeah, I guess we're talking about decentralized ones.
Yeah, they don't have a derivative coin like
Yeah, I mean Coinbase has Coinbase.
And they don't
ETH.
have liquid staking, do they?
Yeah, they
It's
do.
liquid?
Yeah, they have Coinbase ETH.
Yeah, you can buy CB ETH. You can buy it. It's trading.
Traded at a hefty discount not that long ago, actually. That was like kind of like an interesting play. Anyway, like, yeah, I'm curious, did you guys have any like mega takeaways from this? How do you feel, I guess, just about each of the protocols you like looked at? Do you have like any like super favorites, questions, concerns, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at Lido, it's obviously got the most amount of, I think it's 80% market share of the liquid staking protocols. So it's the big weight.
It's huge.
And the reason when I look at like, why did I use it? One, I wanted, kind of use the biggest one just because lowest risk, but it was also the one that I could do most in DeFi. I could use it as collateral in Aave and kind of start there and use it around. I'm, in a balancer pool. And I'm sure, Rocket Pool will catch up. It is catching up in terms of like how much integrations, but there is kind of a mini network effect, I think, that happens because it's the largest one. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, like if you're gonna exchange your ETH for an alternate token or just buy like STETH, utility is the number one thing after risk, right?
Well,
So that's what
maybe
you're
the
describing.
return you're getting from
Sure, that's like the original intent for most people, but it kind of ends up working out that what they care about most is utility.
My question for these liquid staking derivatives like LDO and RPL is where does the value? Which one has most value accrual to it?
To the protocol token.
To the actual token, the protocol token. And does it even matter? Like, does it matter if value accrues to the token or not? Is it just the fact that, people are going to be like, staking good, staking big deal, buy derivative token, and that'll be it.
So I looked at Lido, and the answer is it's a worthless gov coin.
But
valueless gov coin.
But the gov
Kind of
coin
Uniswap-esque, right?
does
Yes.
control the
it
treasury.
it doesn't control it. It has like a voting right to the treasury. And the treasury is significant. They have a lot of money. But in none of the cases that we've seen, like Uniswap, like you have these governance rights to the treasury. In none of the cases does the treasury get distributed out to the token holders.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
we're
yet.
also just so impatient in crypto.
Yeah.
Like it's normal for this to take like 10 years in the TradFi markets.
Well, in
if not
Uniswap,
longer.
case, there's like a very concentrated set of holders. So you kind of need to.
Well, the governance is a bit of a sham.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, because it's like two people.
Uniswap
controlling.
Labs and A16Z.
And then you
Yeah.
get your vote.
Yeah, sure. Here's a few shekels. Meh.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah.
All right, so LDO token, nothing there.
I don't like it, but like they said, you do have this like voting right over the treasury. You know,
Yeah, so
it's
they
like
take
their bank account.
they take a 10% rip on the staking rewards in order to handle this for you and provide a liquid option to trade in and out of staked ETH, since withdrawals aren't allowed on mainnet. So
So then, does your original question matter? Like,
Uh,
I don't know.
No,
but
your original question does matter.
the value accrual question.
yes, I'm curious about that.
Yes, it matters and it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter at all for the next like 3 to 6 months, probably. Like probably zero. But it matters a lot. Like if this is like a long-term moon bag for you, I think. And I think there are interesting structural differences in how these things are built that are going to sort of change how they end up like growing. Excuse me, over time. So I think in the long run, you just kind of, well, in the short run, you probably I think it's a fine trade to just spam these things right now. Not like a huge chunk of your portfolio, but like I think there's.
You're talking long-term accumulation.
No, I mean like if you want to play like one of these like kind of 2-3 month kind of merge sell the news type trades, which I think is actually an interesting topic as well that we can talk about later. Like, is this basically merge sell the news for now? But I think if you're going longer term, then you want to care about how those things accrue. Like I personally like really like Rocket Pool like a lot.
From a investment
Overall,
of the token of the.
Yeah, like I am gonna like accumulate it for like a longer term bag. I feel pretty good about it. One thing that I think is kind of bad about Lido's model, other than the fact that like there's just no direct value accrual for the token holders, is that it kind of seems that in the long run, like those fees are just going to get compressed, right? Like it's just 10% now, but it's going to go to 5% in the future, and then 2%. And then like their margins just kind of get squeezed into nothingness, right? Like assuming that there's not some massive sticky like network effect for their token versus other tokens, which I don't know if there will be. Like I think there's going to be a huge push to get like a lot. I think like a lot of like tokenized like ETH derivatives are going to be like put in all sorts of lending markets. So like I think that they're at the peak of their network effect right now, and that like they're like the only one on Aave, right? Yeah. Last I checked, which is like a huge moat, but like that's like their peak moat. Like so, I think they're at peak moat for that, and they're at peak moat in terms of like the fees they can charge, and then what? What's interesting about the Rocket Pool tokenomics is I think you have to have like 10% of the value of the node in Rocket Pool token.
In RPL, yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily matter what the fees are in terms of like I mean, there is some feedback loop there, right? But the Rocket Pool token just goes up.
It's a bet on staking.
Yeah, as more people stake, just because it's just like a component of like having a node. Like
And as ETH price goes up, right? Because it's 10% of the ETH value that you need as collateral.
That's
so
a good point.
you
I
have to
hadn't
buy
even
as
considered
ETH
that.
goes.
Can't
if
wait
ETH
to
is
explain that. 10% of
you have to provide collateral when you are being a node operator.
Yeah, if you want to operate a wait, maybe we should back up a
Yeah.
step too. Do you understand the difference between like Lido and Rocket Pool and how
Well,
they sort of function?
A little bit.
A little bit. So the cool thing about Lido currently, in order to be like to be like a node there or a validator there, like you have to be approved by the DAO. Currently, I think it's this kind of like permission process to get in. I think that anybody can anybody become like a Rocket Pool validator if you just like
You just need
check
16
particular.
ETH.
I thought so. I looked at that.
So the design of Rocket Pool is cool because it like really incentivizes a bunch of people to come in and start running these nodes. Like you can go set up a Rocket Pool node. And the cool thing about running a Rocket Pool node is that you get a cut of the other ETH in your node, right? So you know how a node or a validator, we keep like using these things wrong.
Yeah, I also thought we were talking about staking. So we're talking specifically
We're talking about staking. You know how when you had to stake, it had to be 32 ETH.
Yeah.
And then the whole reason we're doing this liquid staking thing is because people don't have 32 ETH. So now you
Right.
can stake 1 ETH or like 0.1 ETH, right? So when you run a Rocket Pool node, you put up 16 ETH, you put up half of it. And then the other 16 ETH comes
Pools.
from all the people who want to come in and chip in like a little bit of ETH. So you're sort of like the guardian of your node, and you sort of shepherd everybody to their stake.
But there's no version of this on Lido, right?
No,
You're
Lido.
You're just a piece of the. You're just basically.
Yeah,
buying-
you're like approved by the DAO to run these things. So it's like a far more permissioned thing at the moment. I think there's like a roadmap for that to become like more decentralized in the future, but not really right now. But the really cool thing with Rocket Pool is, right, so like, if you run a Rocket Pool node, right, you get not just the 4.5% from your ETH, you also get 15% right now of the 4.5% from the other ETH in your node that's like making up the other half of it. So you're getting like 6.5% from staking, plus you have to put up this Rocket Pool to kind of like as like additional collateral on your node. That earns interest as well. I think like 8 or 9% right now. So I think the way everything is currently going, like if you run a Rocket Pool validator, you are getting like 15% for doing that work.
But you're only getting 8% on the 10% worth of ETH, right? Because you're only putting 10% ETH value.
whatever you're using as
Yeah,
collateral.
that's a good point.
Yeah, so
That's
it's not
a
an
good point.
effective
So
15.
It's 7.5%.
An effective rate of 7%.
I mean, they allow you to collateralize up to 150% of,
You
of
could.
RPL if you want to yield more.
Right. And it's
No, you
essentially,
can.
it's
Yeah.
essentially insurance, right? Like if something happens with your node, that
like
collateral
if
gets taken.
if you fuck up anything on your node, right? Like say you just totally fuck off to Nepal and your node goes offline and the people who are in your thing like lose money. When you want to withdraw your ETH, Rocket Pool goes, no. We make everybody in your thing whole first, then you get to take your ETH out. So this makes it so that like people who are coming in and just doing like, I want to do like little liquid staking with my small amounts of ETH, they can feel protected knowing that like whoever's running their, their validator isn't like gonna totally screw everything up. So there is like a responsibility there, but it's kind of interesting in how much it's compensating you for. Obviously, there's like this upkeep there.
I wonder what happens. Like we've only been talking about when, people want more liquid staking, but what happens when people don't want to? Like, do they just start shutting off these nodes if they're like, hey, there's not enough people who have demand for our ETH. We got to start shutting you guys down. I don't think we'll have to worry about that in the short run, but I find that curious how you kind of like wind up and wind down.
I don't know.
And incentivize people appropriately. But in any case, so there's a reason, like as staking goes up, there's a reason to buy more RPL. You have to buy it.
Yeah, it's like a very direct line between the price of ETH and staking. It's kind of like the token is programmed to go up to an extent. It's like it's almost like its own little mini ETH thing, except it doesn't have like the burn
Yep.
elements to it.
So would you have to continue contributing more RPL to your own validator node? Like if ETH price keeps going higher, you have your
That's a good
even
question.
32 ETH in there. It's all yours. You've collateralized it at initiation. Do you have to like keep contributing as ETH price continues to go higher?
That's a good
To
question.
maintain the
I actually
initial-
don't-
The 10%
actually don't know.
collateral.
10%.
I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, somebody look that up and tell us.
I would really hope not.
That would be such a pain in the
That-
ass.
that-
would
I don't think anybody would deal
it
with that.
Seems like it would be kind of terrible. So
Yeah,
I think
terrible.
I saw. I should give credit to this guy, Thor Hartvigensen on Twitter. Hartvigensen. Anyway, he did a analysis actually this morning on some of these liquid staking derivatives. So it was timely.
Share it in the Discord, please.
And the way that he looked at the valuation of these tokens was he took the total market cap of, say, LDO and RPL and divided by the amount of ETH that is staked in the protocol. And so if you take that ratio, actually Lido is the most undervalued. It has a ratio of 230 to 1 in terms of market cap value divided by
TVL, basically.
yeah, exactly. Like TVL or amount of ETH staked in there. Whereas RPL is at 867. So roughly, let's call it three to four times.
Yeah.
But I think I looked at what he was doing too, and it didn't seem like it seemed like he was using like Rocket. Wasn't he using Rocket Pools like not its fully it looked like he was using some numbers from CoinMarketCap that aren't correct for Rocket Pool. Like he had their fully diluted valuation at the current market cap, which isn't correct.
I'll throw this thread in the Discord.
I think what's kind of at the root of what you're saying is that like the market is valuing Lido and Rocket Pool differently on the basis of the TVL in them, right? Like Lido right now is valued at 0.2, of like 20% of its TVL, and Rocket Pool is valued at like 70. So we see this a lot in DeFi, right? And like this was kind of like a meme back in the DeFi days where people would be like, look how undervalued this thing. Uniswap is valued at like 1 time its TVL, and this is a DEX, and it's only valued at 0.1. It's like, yeah, because like the market thinks your thing is crap, and it's like it has a low probability of like being Uniswap. So it seems like the market like kind of likes like Rocket Pool's tokenomics better. I'm speculating, which makes sense to me because like I like them better. Like when I look at this as an investor, like I kind of want to buy some Rocket Pool. And it seems like doing like a little node where you got like a couple nodes and you got ETH. It seems like a nice mix too. You get like ETH, and it basically be what, like a 4-to-1 ratio of like ETH to Rocket Pool. I don't know. That kind of sounds like a nice.
That sounds like a nice
mix.
allocation to begin
Sounds
with.
nice.
But then also like we talk about ETH so much and we're so involved in this like ecosystem. I thought for myself, I was like, well, shit, if I'm going to be real about this, I might as well be a validator and like set up my own node and really get into this and learn you know, the mechanics of how to do it. So I got interested myself. I'm like, shit, I'll just set up a couple nodes.
Yeah, it's something I want to look into more because it doesn't seem like it's insanely complicated to do. I wasn't interested in doing it for like 5%, but like, I don't know, like 7.5%, 8%. It sounds.
It's not much, but it's honest work.
I do think about that a lot. You're just like, I'm just gonna throw all my ETH in my little Raspberry Pi or whatever, and then
if
right off into the sunset with
my
8%.
electricity goes down, then I'm fucked.
Slashed.
I mean, I thought about that, but we should probably talk about a potential trigger event happening for liquid staking derivatives. So I think the Shanghai update,
Yes.
which is to allow withdrawals. So people have been staking ETH without being able to withdraw it for, I don't know how long, a couple of years. I don't know the exact number, but something like that.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. And the only way you've been able to get some liquidity is through these liquid staking protocols. But for the people who are staking directly on mainnet, they haven't been able to pull it out. So the question is, when people are allowed to pull out all this ETH, what happens to the ETH price? And is this bullish or bearish for these liquid staking derivatives, LDO and RPL?
Well,
I have my own thought on it, but I'm
The
curious.
guy to my left was just looking at a website to tell you when supply unlocks happen.
So this supply unlocks could be important, you're saying?
Well, I think this is actually an interesting nuanced question. Like, I don't think that ETH unlocks here are the same as like supply unlocks. Like the main thing is like I was looking into like the cost basis of all the people who have staked because like crypto is awesome and you can just there's just data on this, right?
Effectively zero,
Like
I'm guessing.
77% of all staked ETH is underwater right
No
now.
way.
Whereas like these token unlocks for Lido, they're probably up like 1,000x,
Yeah,
right?
I
So the way I'm currently thinking about this is like, okay, if I'm up 1,000x on Lido and I'm getting an unlock in this market, like I'm just dumping it. I'm not thinking just get it, dump, right?
Are you saying 77% of stakers or 77% of the ETH?
Of the ETH that's
Wow.
staked is underwater.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
shocking.
It's a lot. So people's cost basis right now for all the staked ETH is
Vitalik,
way above the
Vitalik doesn't
price
even
of
believe in
ETH.
this shit. He's like, you suckers are staking.
And just to be clear, we're talking about two different things, really, but we're trying to say they're similar, right? One is staked ETH unlocking, and the other is actual tokens
Token unlocks. Yeah.
unlocking that have never been in the market. So it's just an
Similar but
analogy,
opposite.
right?
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
like people might think they're the same. What I'm trying to get at, I guess, is like I don't think the unlocks are bearish.
So this could be an inverse
You
of the
don't
merge.
think they are.
Right, because I think like imagine right now you've just been through
Bearish for ETH price or bearish for
bearish for let's just talk about ETH price first, right? Because I think that's kind of like a lot of this is based on that. Because so you could argue this stuff's kind of like high beta ETH, quote unquote. If I staked ETH at like 3,500 and I just like went through the hell of last year and my ETH like unlocks and everything, like, am I like rushing to dump it like for like a loss now?
No, these are inherently
Probably not.
long-term holders.
If I already needed money, like I probably already sold something else, I think. The one thing that scares me is it's probably going to be around like tax time. And sometimes people are like, oh God, I
Gotta pay
I
for
fucked
taxes.
up. So I think there'll be a little bit of that. But like the market like knows this is happening, right? Like if the market really thinks everybody's going to dump, like price is going to be suppressed beforehand to a degree, you know, there's going to be some amount of efficiency in the market. So
really
if that
curious
doesn't happen,
about this 70% though underwater. Like if they've been staked for 2 years, that must be that they've been like
well, the people who've been in for like 2 years are doing okay.
doing okay.
But like a lot of people came in like a year ago, you know?
Yeah, I see.
And they're wrecked city.
Yeah, if it was me, I probably wouldn't do anything with
I mean,
it.
I think it's generally bullish if this goes off that hitch because it's a big technical risk that maybe you might not. I think maybe some people think, can I actually pull out my ETH?
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
like
And
a duh, wait, I can just pull this out. All the pegs go 1-to-1. Oh, okay. I feel safe staking now, so I'm going to stake.
Or if it doesn't work, your ST ETH and R ETH go to zero because it can't be redeemed.
How many of these people do you think unstake but then liquid stake
Oh, I see what you're saying.
on Lido or set up a validator?
Probably very few of them. Like
And
I don't
there's-
know who went through the trouble of like running
Setting up
their
a node.
own validator and then they just pull it.
now
and
you
go
want to pay 10% fees.
Well,
Yeah.
I could see a scenario where
But I get liquidity
they would have liquidity post this update because they can just pull it out
only
if
if
they
they
want.
unstake, right?
Right.
Right. The
I
people
can
who are in the
continue
money
staking
are those people.
and get liquidity.
You can continue staking, but you have
it's
liquidity.
obviously way less
But
technical.
everybody has that.
You have
That's like the point of this is like you can unstake.
But does
your-
Lido give like
your ETH.
actual validator nodes, ST ETH, just to use in DeFi for their?
Well, like I also don't think like people who staked on the Beacon chain like 2 years ago care about liquidity. Like they were like,
Right.
yeah, I'm gonna lock up my ETH.
And they didn't know
what I'm
when
kinda
this
saying.
was
Like,
gonna
do you
happen.
think these people
So-
care? They don't.
So I don't think they
Yeah.
care, and because they don't care, I don't think they want to sell, and they're the most likely to want to sell because they're sitting on gains. But they're probably like, "Meh, I'm up 100%."
I don't see them
snore,
selling
like
ETH, but I do see a lot of people being like, well, I can continue earning my rewards, move to liquid staking on Lido or Rocket Pool.
There's a case where you may want to do that if some of these big centralized liquid staking protocols like Lido and even Coinbase, maybe they're better at running MEV strategies than you are with whatever you're using to capture MEV. I think that'll eventually go away, but for now, some of these bigger protocols might be
Yeah.
better at it than you are, and maybe that make it worth the fee.
I also think like not forgetting who these people are is really important. Like these are going to be the most hardcore Ethereum sort of advocates in general, and I can't imagine that they would then move to something like Lido where there's already centralization risk, and a lot of like ETH bulls are sort of wary of that and aware. And
So when is
wary of
the
that.
Shanghai update expected to happen? Q2.
2023 this
Yeah.
year, but
Spring-ish.
obviously could get pushed back.
Yeah.
Any-
It's been
Time.
known to happen.
Yeah, it's been
That's probably actually like a really good risk to mention of taking this trade. Like if you get a pushback, which seems to happen like more more often than not, right? Like market might not like that. You might get dumped on. So that's a risk of taking this little trade here. What I think is kind of an interesting trade is like, do you think that this is like bullish for like Rocket Pool ETH pair? Like just ignore Rocket Pool USD. Like what
Right.
if ETH goes down? Doesn't this just like automatically increase the amount of ETH that is staked? Like when people can unstake and that risk is removed, like the amount of ETH stake doesn't go down, right? So if the amount of ETH stake goes up, then this stuff has to at least go up on a valuation relative to ETH. Like Lido ETH has to go up, right? Like Rocket Pool ETH has to go up, right?
I think it's already starting to
The
now.
Rocket Pool ETH chart has been something I've been looking at for like a while. It looks really good, like that, like and like versus the Lido ETH chart. It's kind of like, it looks like you've been getting dumped on for a while. But the Rocket Pool ETH chart looks kind of like up only lately. It looks really good. Like I thought about taking that trade because like I don't know if I want to be exposed to like crypto USD, but like I don't know, pair trades within crypto are kind of interesting.
Right.
If you can get them, they can be like.
I mean,
alpha for you.
that's kind of the criteria for having something else other than ETH for the next 3-4 years. Like if you're going to take 15% of the portfolio and have it in Optimism and Matic and LDO, RPL, it should obviously hopefully outperform ETH, right? Like either be high beta or actually just perform better, right?
Yeah, and like what we're seeing with something like Rocket Pool that we don't really see with Matic, right? Because Matic is still like a hopium, like like it's like a hype coin. Oh, people are like
BizDev hype coin.
yeah, like there's no real like Matic doesn't really like generate like earnings that like of any meaningful thing that gets returned to token holders, right? It just doesn't. But like Rocket Pool is one of these, like I don't know, it looks like a business, right? It looks like, oh, this token provides this service. It's like a service that's valuable to people. I use this because it's providing me value. What do I get in exchange for that value? I get this yield. I see where the yield comes from. It's native to the protocol here. All that backs out. And then the token has like some sort of earnings model built into it, like some sort of, it's not technically earnings the way it's set up, but like you can see how there is structural. This is like one of the things we have in crypto that we don't have in like stocks. Like there's no company that's valued, like it doesn't have earnings, but it just buys back its stock regularly.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like when we think about like earnings in TradFi, right? So in crypto, we invented this like perpetual buyback type thing, which maybe we just don't really know how to model well yet, but it does make sense that there's value there. People are using a service, they're getting things it backs out. They're not like dumping tokens on the market for marketing it. So we're starting to see these real businesses, and that's kind of exciting. You know, I'm very into it.
It just made me think that I was thinking of other things we've talked about in the past, like layer 2 tokens, and like you're talking about business models. Like these business models are terrible. Like nothing's gonna make money.
What do you mean, the layer 2 business
Yeah,
models?
can't.
No, I think they're really good business
Can't.
models.
Wait,
I think they generate tons of cash.
So you're expecting high volume on very low margin. The margin is so freaking low, but you're still paying security on layer 1. You're not getting the volumes for any time frame that we're expecting to invest in.
Wait, why are you paying security? Don't the users pay security?
Right, through gas, like aren't
Yeah.
they like batching the transactions through?
That's the whole beauty of a L2. Like, so if you launch an L1, you have to pay for your own security budget, right? By like basically inflating your token and incentivizing people to run nodes, validate transactions, whatever. If you run an L2, you outsource all of that to ETH. That's the beauty of it. Like your users pay the security cost via gas, right? And then you get to like.
Okay, so you're just capturing
I thought
an
their
even
business-
smaller part of a very, very small margin. Like
I thought their business model was
So where
capturing the MEV of like taking all
Yeah,
these
the MEV
transactions.
is a huge.
They must be printing
potential
cash every day.
business model.
MEV makes sense.
The other thing you got to think about too is like there's a future world where like the L2s or the roll apps, the L3s, however crazy this gets, they have all like the users, right? And like we kind of forget about this in crypto because nobody has users. We're all just playing with the blockchain. But like, you know, in the not too distant future, we're going to be using apps. We'll be using like Arbitrum. Like, I don't know, maybe there's like an Arbitrum app on your phone and you just got all your stuff there. And then like from the user's perspective, they're like, oh, I use like Arbitrum. And they don't think about where this is settling below. And then there's like maybe like an interesting tension where like maybe Arbitrum's like, wow, I want to negotiate like lower gas fees or something. We've got all the users that are paying all the gas here. I don't know, like, but like I do think L2s are
So
seem like a
I'm
good
back on
business.
board. Okay.
We're back, baby. We're back.
You also can just like seems like you can just launch them just for.
Oh, I
you
think
outsource all the hard part.
I mean,
to-
there's
to
going to be
Ethereum
so
and-
many shitty L2s getting launched because, like, I mean, you're just going to be able to, you know, instead of launching it, I think it's going to be disproportionately easier to launch an L2 versus, you know, last couple of years to launch an L1. You just launch it on Ethereum, it'll be the L2 for fill in the blank. And, you know, I'm sure they'll play their token games to get the market cap up and dump on people.
Absolutely, I'm
That'll be
hoping for a
fun.
nice
That'll
little-
be fun.
Yeah.
or like a little.
All right, we got something to look forward to,
farming
guys.
season 2.0 or something.
man.
So are you guys? You guys are all feeling pretty good about the
I have
tokens.
one
You
more
feel-
question.
Yeah.
If you happen to come across it, so I typed in RPL on the Token Unlocks website. I didn't see any big token unlocks. Did you happen to see any big token unlocks? For
I think there's like a
RPL?
consistent like 5% yearly
Inflation.
I was trying to dig for this too. So if somebody has like a better thing, please let me
Yeah,
know.
they made a good argument for 5% inflation. They're like, listen, we need this thing to grow. We need to assign value to people that help build the network. So, but yeah, I would love to know that
It seems
insider
reasonable. Like ETH
unlocks.
used to be like 4+% like all the time, and
Yeah.
this is like a tinier.
Well,
bootstrap
I
thing.
got to say, like, I'm glad you kind of liked, both you and Eric also liked RPL, the tokenomics, the value accrual best, because I do like when the right curve take and the middle curve take match. You know, like I like staking derivatives. Well, market cap lower on this one, so I'll make more on this one. I'll buy this one, and
Well, it
I like when
scares
those two
me.
match.
It scares me that the market cap to TVL ratio is so much higher, though.
right.
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't concern me. I just think that's just because the market thinks the token accrues
I like
more
both.
value.
I like both.
You know, like I would guess that a token like GMX probably I haven't looked at it, but like I would guess it's probably valued like very differently than Lido is because it like accrues direct cash flow, and you have to take that into account when modeling it.
So if you're being conservative, what time horizon are we talking about here for this trade? Is it the year, the entire year?
No, I think it's a cycle for me. Like I'm not taking it for a 3 month. I'm waiting for when things feel, you know, I don't know if ETH is going to go to 750, 700, but all my buy triggers are there. And the time I probably buy ETH is probably the time I'll pick up some of these things. Like if I could buy all these tokens at the June lows or below the June lows, I would prefer to do that. And right now I have like allocated like, I don't know the exact amount, let's call it like 15% to Optimism, Matic, RPL, and LDO. It sounds,
The all
Of all crypto or of ETH?
well, that's all I'm,
Well, that's
that's
of
all I'm
all crypto.
acquiring. Like I have enough Bitcoin that I'm not buying anymore.
15% of your total crypto?
Of what I'm going to purchase this in the next, hopefully the next 6 months.
Future pacing.
Yeah, I don't know what it'll back out to in the total portfolio. But
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like this is like to me, this is kind of like high beta ETH. So I just kind of feel like whenever I'm buying ETH, I kind of want to buy this. I've already nibbled on some ETH, so I'm probably going to go nibble on some of these, and I'm probably going to just buy ETH and these at the same time. Like to me, this is the most like the forehead like trade of the next bull run. Like in terms like it just has to. Where I hate it that I just said that. Now it's gonna fail. But it just like has to.
right
be a
when you
good
said
trade.
that, I thought of a risk. Okay, so right when you said that, you're like, this is done. I was like, what about this? So I mean, the staking part of Ethereum's ecosystem is the one that gets the most, I guess, attention from regulators because it feels like a security to them. So I guess, do you think there's any risk in buying these liquid staking derivatives? That
I mean, that's just a risk to ETH itself if that happens. I think so. No, I think you already priced
even on the
that
first
in.
principles part of that, though, why do we care so much whether something's a security or a commodity? Like it's just the way that it's regulated under the current rule regime. They should change the rules. Like whether something's a security shouldn't matter that much. We think of it as like this death blow.
but if it was a security, I'd buy it.
Right. It's like, who gives a shit?
For us.
Yeah,
Doesn't
and
change
like
it.
I guess the real reason is because you're like then placed under stricter regulations. You have to do more reporting and stuff. But like they don't actually want that reporting. If they knew what they're going to get, it would be like like getting a.
If they require any reporting like that, we should send it in printed paper.
Yeah, they like wouldn't have enough storage space for that shit.
Speaking of printed paper, I've never
Yeah,
seen that before.
I brought printed paper.
Wow.
It's the first printed contract I've ever
rich.
signed.
All right. I have a theory I want to run by you to close out this
Let's do it.
episode. You've heard of the flippening. We've heard of the lappening today.
I think that's is that David Hoffman trademarked the lappening?
Yeah.
And I think it is. Yeah,
That's when ETH passes Bitcoin and then doubles the value.
doubles
of Bitcoin?
and triples it.
And triples it. Okay.
I was trying to think of a better name for this, but I ended up on the suckening.
Okay, what the fuck? All right, it's a workable title. We'll workshop it
We'll
later.
have to work with that. But yeah.
Okay. So this is kind of actually a bull case for Aave. Also a bull case for ETH, obviously, when you hear it, but like I think it's actually like an interesting bull case for Aave. And this is going to go a little into the weeds, but Aave came out with V3 a while ago. And in V3, they came out with a feature called, I think it's called E-mode. And it basically allows you to borrow like assets against like assets with like extremely extreme that like, so if you have USDC stablecoin, you could borrow USDT at up to 99%, I think. So it allows you to just basically use all of your collateral like and do that, right? This isn't available on mainnet yet. So at some point in the future, V3 is going to come to mainnet, and then E-mode is going to come potentially to these staking derivatives. Now, we don't want to do that right now because it would be like a ticking time bomb. If you could imagine if everybody was borrowing like, against their ST ETH collateral, assuming it was 1-to-1 and the peg went to, below
Right.
0.9 at one point and everybody's on 100-to-1 leverage, it would have been like a disaster. It would have blown
Yeah.
up the whole ecosystem.
All right,
But-
go on. I'm following.
Okay, so the Shanghai fork comes now. ST ETH is just always 1-to-1 peg because you can always just arb it by staking, unstaking, whatever. So that peg risk goes away. So Aave brings V3 to mainnet, and then they make all of the staking derivatives, the big ones, E-mode enabled. This basically means that you can take your ST ETH, you borrow 99% ETH against it, convert it back, so you're going to be able to like uber leverage the staking yield, right? So this will cause like a sucking in, vacuuming. Should I call it the vacuuming? The
Guzzling?
vacuuming? The guzzling. To cause all of this like ETH to just be sucked into this like 20x to 1 so like Gearbox does something like this right now, and you can get like 22% on your staked ETH, like if you're willing to take on the smart contract risk and whatever. Like a lot of people are going to go, yes, please. And then all the ETH goes in there. ETH like supply obviously gets like vacuumed off the market. So that makes ETH price go up. But like who's collecting all this value at the application level? Well, Aave. Maybe now like Aave TVL just skyrockets because everybody is doing this particular trade and everybody goes, oh, I should buy Aave coin. I looked at the chart too for Aave. It looks kind of dead, but like good dead. Like it's fully died and
It's died. It's been like flat.
drifting. It's just been flat. It like you could like optimistically say it's in a bit of an accumulation bottom. So I
Has
think that
it
could be an
moved up and
interesting
down with TVL? Roughly
trade. In the past,
against
kind of,
ETH is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at it against ETH.
against ETH. No, because the entirety of the DeFi ecosystem was just to like a LOL scammed you for like Degen Spartan was dancing on everybody's graves about Maker for literally a year and a half straight, maybe 2 years straight. Like all of those things for like we were all sold the DeFi had its bull market in like October of 2020 or late 2020, maybe early 20, and then just died, like just super died. And then while everything else mooned the whole bull market, like if you were holding DeFi tokens, you felt like a moron. Everybody's hyping up the DeFi index for a while. Then the DeFi index was like, oh my God.
So is Aave valueless gov coin?
There is some accrual to it. It's just very small. It's very small. So it's kind of like a hybrid in between thing. I do think these coins are going to have their day. I don't know if this is like a long time like hold play, but like it like could be like an interesting trade that like not a lot of people are talking about right now. And that's also, I think, like a really good bull case for ETH if this happens. Maybe short term, maybe in the long run, we accidentally blow ourselves up with all the leverage.
So
that
to be
seems
clear,
happen.
the suckening is good.
The suckening is great.
Okay. The suckening is great. I mean, I see that. I mean, we talked about, I mean, there were several tokens there was tokenized sets of this play that you were talking about, which was putting ST ETH in Aave, borrowing it back out, borrowing ETH against it, swapping to ST ETH, putting that more collateral, doing that 3 times over. So yeah, if you can borrow up to 99%, it's going to happen because it already happened when the risk of deep pegging was still there.
Like this is what you could basically do on like Abracadabra back in the day with UST. Like there was a while that UST Vault was earning like 120% APR. Gee, why did it all blow up? I don't know. But like, yeah, people were like infinite looping just like UST, and it was just driving the price of Luna to the. Yeah, this is actually very similar because Spell was basically driving Luna price to the moon because everybody was coming in trying to like get 100% APR on their stables, and
we get to update the spreadsheets with 22% staking yields instead of 4%.
I would really like that.
It's gonna look great.
Yeah,
All right.
Doesn't sound very sustainable, but
No.
I'll take it.
But I'm in for a bit.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm
you
in
can
for
at
a
least
little
look
bag.
at the spreadsheet. Yeah.
All right. Well, it seems like a good place to wrap it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like your theory.
I don't want Armand to fall asleep on the table here, so we should.
Do I look asleep? I was fully
You
engaged.
put a very casual. You look high. Did you smoke weed?
What? God, that would be a good idea, actually. No one would know.
No.
I
It's part
feel
of the
like I know,
dopamine
right?
detox.
I feel like you're scamming.
Could not be more sober, and we all could not be more sober. So, this is the most sober episode ever.
Sober,
I still enjoyed it.
soberly sober.
Hope
Well,
you all did out there too.
Hope we still have
Much
fans
love.
next
Peace.
week.
For the
Thank you
record,
listening.
Steven looks more asleep than I do. Good night.